This is YouTube's 2024 experimental redesign, and today, we're gonna redesign it. There's a couple of problems that I see with this UI. First, the recommendations take up way too much space and forces the video metadata and the comments to get scrunched all the way to the side. Additionally, the main utility of using YouTube, watching videos, is kind of hidden in the sidebar. Obviously, the main experience is browsing videos, so it feels like it should be treated a little bit differently. And of course, as most of you likely remember, the like to dislike ratio visualizer was removed way back in, I think, 2016. So we're gonna add that bad boy back in there while we're at it. Our goal today is to redesign YouTube and try to make it more creator and community focused, much like it used to be back in, say, 2009. But I have two caveats here that I wanna make. First of all, I'm just a random designer. I can do whatever I want. I don't have any constraints, and YouTube is largely constrained by the economic forces of the industry. They have to remain competitive, and with platforms like TikTok, Amazon Prime Video, and Vimeo all slowly siphoning away viewers from the platform, they kind of have to make these kinds of design decisions in order to stay alive. And I also want to stress that the overall user experience of YouTube is completely fine, and reimagining it from the ground up is probably really bad for users. There's a lot of established patterns these days for how video works on YouTube, and changing them is a risky thing to do. In fact, if you look on Dribbble for YouTube redesigns, you'll find that there's really not much that's very different from the existing UI. If it's not broke, don't fix it, really. You could get fancy with the design, but really that's just an exercise in ego, right? There's really no user-based reason to deviate significantly from how YouTube looks and feels today. Let's jump into Figma and see what we can do. We'll start with the most important part of any UI, the navigation. And there's four main changes that I wanted to make here. First, I wanted to make search featured a little bit more. Part of the intrigue of YouTube is that you can find a video about just about anything you can imagine, but it seems like the YouTube team has been deprioritizing search lately in favor of discovery algorithms to keep you engaged on the platform with an algorithm designed to serve you exactly the content that they think you want to consume. So we're going to bump up the search bar's height quite a bit and add a dark color on it to pull a little more visual attention. I also want to emphasize the profile area of the navigation. Going with the theme of this redesign, we're trying to make it more community and creator focused. So for every account on YouTube, you have a creator account, and we want to emphasize that that is your space and encourage creators to upload content with a nice big call to action and juicy clickable button. We're also going to be separating the main video navigation links, home, shorts, and subscriptions into their own secondary navigation. As YouTube grows over time and adds more services to their repertoire, it's easy for things to get lost in the weeds. And now we've got things like YouTube Music and other services clogging up that left-hand sidebar. So instead, we're pulling the main ones out, putting them in a dedicated secondary nav. We're also fixing a couple of small alignment and spacing issues throughout the navigation that I think makes the whole UI look a lot more polished. Now, the video container itself is one of the most iconic pieces of UI on the internet. Everyone knows what the YouTube video player looks like. So, as you'd expect, we're not changing it very much. We're mostly just recreating it and then polishing up the alignment and spacing a little bit. Again, deviating from this would probably be a very big mistake because almost everyone has gotten used to this UI at this point. There's a lot of friction involved in changing it, but there's not very much usability upside. The video player itself is already really easy to use and control. There's no need to tweak it any further. But I do want to mention that I had to add a nice little black gradient to the bottom of the controls on the video player. And after looking at the YouTube site itself, it turns out they do this as well. And the reason is that the content behind these controls is very dynamic. It can be white, red, black, any color you could possibly imagine. And if we don't put a very subtle black gradient there, we're risking having a very hard to see set of controls. So having this nice little gradient here allows us the flexibility of having a consistent color for our controls and being able to overlay them on top of a completely dynamic video. Now, YouTube seems to be increasingly trying to strip their creators out of the videos that they create. First making descriptions really small, and now pushing everything way over to the right and just bunching it all together on the side. We're just gonna straight up Control Z that decision entirely and bring YouTube back to the people. We're also going to make 4 specific changes to the video metadata that I think presents a more sensible visual hierarchy. First, we're going to move the total view count and upload time just to the right of the title as opposed to being scrunched underneath it like it was before. Of course, this isn't the most relevant information, but as a viewer, when I'm looking at something, I do want to see if a video has been viewed by lots of people and when it was uploaded. This gives me more context from which to evaluate the video, right? If this was uploaded 2 years ago, maybe it's out of date. And if there's only a couple of views, I'll know that either this is a pretty terrible video or it's a new creator and I should probably try and engage with them because there's a high chance that I'm one of their first few viewers and I can start to build a relationship with the creator that way. We're also going to slap that iconic red subscribe button back there. Of course, it does pull quite a lot of visual attention now, but we're trying to bring back the community of YouTube, and subscribing to creators that you know and love is ultimately the mechanism through which we do that. And then of course, we're going to reintroduce that juicy like-dislike ratio. This was removed a while back, I think because large corporations were frustrated with users having the ability to dislike their videos and essentially PR bomb their really cringe ads. But I think that ultimately, given that this is YouTube and not corporate tube, it makes sense to have that feature. Pretty much everyone has the YouTube dislike extension installed today, so why not just reintroduce it to the UI so people can validate whether or not they're looking at a good video or not visually without having to commit to watching 10+ minutes of content. Now, one of the main reasons that people use YouTube over all the other industry leaders is this sense of community. The ability to scroll down and just see a whole bunch of other real people that are commenting and engaging on a particular video is so incredibly invaluable. So the fact that this has been pushed off to the side is a little bit disappointing to me, and I think it might be a bit short-sighted. So we're moving comments back to where they belong, directly under the video, and then polishing up the alignment and spacing a little bit, specifically with the reply button and the channel name, but not really doing too much there. Again, if it's not broke, don't fix it, and a user comment is one of those design heuristics that's very well established. Deviating from that usually results in some kind of user experience debit. Unless you have a really compelling reason to do so, you should just leave it alone. Now, at the end of the day, if YouTube can't keep you on the platform, they're just gonna go out of business, and we can't ignore that reality. Of course, the comments themselves do play a role in getting people to stay on the platform and engage, but we should also have some kind of related video control that allows them to engage broadly across lots of different videos. So we're reintroducing the old sidebar with the related videos on the right, and then giving the user a mechanism to filter between different perspectives so they can see videos that are new to them, videos that fit a very particular category or viewing intent. And there it is, the reimagined YouTube that could have been. Now again, I want to underscore that the existing YouTube UI is fine. And at the end of the day, they're working under a tremendous amount of economic pressure to keep eyeballs on the platform with a decreasing attention span with their broad younger user base. But I think this new UI would do a better job at helping creators feel like they're part of the platform, part of the community. It would also help individual users feel like they're part of a smaller community within that creator's kind of walled garden. And ultimately, I think it would help you feel like your time on YouTube was more meaningful and enjoyable. But either way, let me know what you think. Is this too much like the existing UI? Is there something you would have done totally differently? And if you enjoyed this one, you will probably also like my Twitter redesign, which you can find right here. Hope you found something meaningful in this one, folks. Have a great week.